The Deputy Prime Minister, Nick Clegg, has responded to a comment describing his partnership with David Cameron as a broke-back coalition. Speaking a little earlier, Mr Clegg said the coalition government had a lot more to offer.
I think, David, it's a colourful phrase, but I don't think it really captures the spirit of this coalition, which is two separate parties led by separate leaders, myself and David Cameron, recognising that the country is facing some very difficult short-term challenges, coming together in the national interest to deal with those short-term challenges so that in the long term we have an economy that grows, that we deal with the environmental challenges, that we give the best education system to our children, that we reform the NHS so that people have got the best health care that they deserve. That's what this government is doing.
The Deputy PM there. Well, appearing on our screen for a little longer than we expected. Apologies for a few technical issues there, which mean that clip of Nick Clegg has frozen on your screens. We are trying to tell you now about the former Prime Minister as opposed to the current Deputy Prime Minister. And at least we can see Gordon Brown, the man that we want to talk about next. And let me tell you that nearly 3 months after Labour's general election defeat, Gordon Brown has returned to the political arena. The former Prime Minister appeared at an African Union summit in the Ugandan capital, Kampala. Well, in his speech, Gordon Brown urged leaders to focus on the creation of millions more jobs. He said that development aid should be used to promote business-led growth, not to replace it, and that the provision of mass access to broadband internet would be crucial in that.
We want every child to have access to the internet, as well as having the right to education. And if every child had access to the internet and information about education, about health, about banking, about finance, could be disseminated through the internet, then people's educational chances would be so much better. And of course it would help business, because businesses could grow out of the internet. It would help medicine, because people could get information about better healthcare through the internet. So one of our aims in the next few years must be to make sure that the internet is available to every citizen in Africa.
Minister Gordon Brown, the former Prime Minister there, speaking a little earlier in Kampala. As you can tell, because he's staying on the screen, we have a few technical problems here at the moment. However, we'll plough on gamely and hopefully we'll be able to...
bring you the rest of the news.
Yeah, perhaps with Gordon Brown's face to accompany the rest of it. The country's biggest trade union, Unite, is set to give its backing to Ed Miliband in the race for the Labour leadership. That's not him, of course, that's Gordon Brown. The younger Miliband brother received the most votes in a ballot of Unite's political committee today. Here he is. The executive committee has to approve that result at a meeting on Monday. Ed Miliband now looks set to have the backing of the biggest three unions, that's Unite, Unison and the GMB. We're having no trouble at all bringing you pictures. The studio is a little more of an issue, I think. There's Ed Miliband, and he's going to be replaced by Peter Gibbs, who's going to give us a weather forecast while we try and fix things. Peter, over to you.
Ah, here we are. There we go. The weather, well, but the weather not causing too many problems. Still got some technical issues here at the moment, but let's hand you back to the studio and see what we can do from there.
Thank you for bearing with us while we try to sort out our gremlins here. We're back now to a picture of Ed Miliband, a story we brought you a few moments ago, but we will try to carry on regardless and bring you details of our main stories tonight.
Yeah, at least 15 people have been killed and up to 100 have been injured during a music festival in the German city of Duisburg. Police say that 9 women and 6 men died when panic broke out at a packed entrance tunnel at the annual Love Parade. Of course, that nothing to do with the story, the tragic events in Germany. We're frozen on that picture due to some serious technical issues that we're having here at the moment.
Yes, thank you for bearing with us, and apologies for having to stick with that one picture when we're clearly talking about other stories. But one of snooker's finest players, Alex Higgins, has died at the age of 61. He had been suffering from throat cancer, affectionately known as the Hurricane. He won the world title twice and was a leading figure in the growth of the game in the 70s. And if you're just joining us, a reminder that we're having some technical problems, which mean we're frozen on a picture of Ed Miliband, but we're trying to bring you the details of our other main stories tonight.
Yes, one of those is the news that NATO has confirmed that 2 American naval personnel have gone missing in Afghanistan. The US military is offering a reward of $20,000 for information It's believed that the men were taken prisoner after a gun battle in Logar province, south of Kabul. Unconfirmed reports say that one of them was killed overnight.
And a senior US senator has asked the Scottish government to reconsider its decision not to send officials to a hearing into the release of the Lockerbie bomber. In a letter, Frank Lautenberg said he was pleading with First Minister Alex Salmond to help shed light on claims that BP had influenced the release.
As you can see on the screen, we're still having technical problems. That is still Ed Miliband. The scrolling ticker at least is working across the bottom just to keep you up to date with other stories. We're hopefully going to go to a programme shortly which will give us time, hopefully, to reset the equipment. But in other news tonight, the Ministry of Justice has ordered a review into the way that John Venables was supervised after he'd served 8 years in custody for murdering James Bulger. Venables was jailed, as you may know, for 2 years yesterday for downloading and distributing indecent images of children. The solicitor for James Bulger's father has criticised the scope of the review.
Now we're going to attempt to get you to the planned programme for this time slot, and now in her first television interview since the Shipman inquiry, Dame Janet Smith speaks openly about the most prolific serial killer this country has ever seen.
His patients absolutely